All right, so get this. We're diving deep into 7 Days to Die today.
Ooh.
Yeah. You know that zombie survival game
Uh-huh.
where every week brings the ultimate test?
Okay.
We've got this awesome YouTube review to unpack.
Yeah.
And trust me, it's way more than just surviving. It's like inheriting the legacy of like all the players who came before you in this world.
It's really interesting how 7 Days to Die,
Mm-hmm.
like, blends that hardcore survival
Yeah.
feel with, like, a more forgiving approach,
Yeah.
It's not about punishing you for, like, every mistake.
Right.
It's about strategy.
So you're telling me I won't be like rage quitting
Yeah.
after losing all my progress in the first hour?
Exactly.
Because some of these survival games can be brutal.
Exactly. The respawn system is a prime example.
Okay.
You set your spawn point at your bed,
Okay.
just like in Minecraft.
I see.
And it adds a layer of strategy.
Yeah.
Right? Thinking about the safest plan to respawn,
Yeah.
but also making the game more accessible.
So you're not just surviving day to day, you're thinking long term.
Exactly.
But hold on, what's the world like?
Yeah.
It's not just some boring, empty wasteland, right?
No way. 7 Days to Die has a seriously diverse world.
Okay.
Think like abandoned mines, bustling cities, different biomes.
Wow.
Each one like impacts your character's stats and offers like unique loot.
Okay.
You're constantly discovering something new.
Loot that affects my stats.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm picturing myself like geeking out over spreadsheets, optimizing my character.
Mhm.
For every biome, I can already sense the addiction forming.
And then there's the treasure maps.
Ooh.
Imagine stumbling upon a map left behind by another survivor
Okay.
and like uncovering your hidden stash.
Wow.
It's like you're connecting with the history of this world,
Yeah.
their struggle for survival.
Whoa, that's deep.
Yeah.
It's not just about finding loot. It's like piecing together the stories
Yeah.
of those who came before you. I love that.
It's a really powerful element that adds a whole other dimension to the game.
Right.
And speaking of powerful, we can't forget about the core gameplay loop.
Oh, yeah.
Every 7 days.
The horde comes knocking.
Exactly.
I can practically hear the pounding feet and moans already.
Oh, yeah.
It must be intense trying to like fortify your base, setting traps, gathering supplies, all while knowing that wave is coming.
Exactly. That 7-day cycle keeps you on your toes.
Right.
It's not just about surviving each day as it comes,
Yeah,
It's about strategizing for that inevitable onslaught.
totally.
And to survive, you need a good base.
Okay.
Which brings us to the building system.
I'm actually really curious about this because the review made it sound like a lot more than just like placing blocks. It's
No.
almost like a whole engineering challenge.
Absolute structural integrity,
Yeah.
customized layouts, defense mechanisms. It's surprisingly complex.
Wow.
Or you can build a humble shelter or a fortress. It all depends on your playstyle.
Okay, now I'm picturing those elaborate castle builds in other games.
Yeah.
Can you get that crazy with it?
7 Days to Die lets you get pretty creative.
Okay.
And you have to, especially when that horde comes knocking.
Right.
And once you've got the base, you need the tools.
Yeah.
Which is where the crafting comes in.
Okay, but is it just basic tools?
Mhm.
Or are we talking like crazy stuff? Because the reviewer mentioned vehicles and that caught my attention.
Oh, yeah.
Like, am I really crafting cars in the zombie apocalypse?
You can craft way more than you might expect.
Wow.
The crafting system is incredibly deep.
Okay.
Think about starting with basic tools and working your way up to crafting vehicles.
Wait, hold up. Vehicles as in like motorcycles?
Yeah.
Jeeps? Did they say anything about helicopters? Because if I can fly around in a helicopter in a zombie apocalypse, I'm sold.
Well, the reviewer hasn't reached the helicopter stage yet,
Okay.
but the potential is there.
Right.
Imagine soaring above those hordes,
Yeah.
raiding far-off locations.
Okay. That is officially on my apocalypse bucket list. Even if it takes forever to get there, just knowing that's possible is amazing.
Yeah.
But let's back up a bit. I mean, starting with the basics and working your way up must be pretty satisfying.
Yeah.
And how does leveling up work in this game?
Yeah.
Is it all about just fighting zombies?
So the perk system is really cool.
Okay.
You choose which skills to improve,
Right.
really tailoring your character to your style.
Yeah.
Do you want to be like a master chef,
Huh?
cooking up feasts amidst the chaos?
Okay.
Or a stealthy lockpick sneaking into zombie-infested areas?
Or maybe you want to go full-on action hero and just punch zombies in the face all day long.
Right.
I kind of love that you can really specialize.
Yeah.
But wouldn't all that choice be kind of overwhelming?
It can feel like a lot to take in at first,
Right.
but the game does a good job of guiding you. And as you become more experienced, you start to appreciate like the nuances of each skill tree.
Right.
It's not just about picking a skill and maxing it out.
Yeah.
It's about making strategic choices that complement your playstyle and
Oh,
help you survive those crucial horde nights.
that makes sense. It's all about long-term planning.
Exactly.
But honestly, sometimes the best laid plans go out the window when you're playing with friends, right?
Yeah,
The reviewers seem to really emphasize the social aspect of 7 Days to Die.
absolutely. Playing with friends brings a whole new level of chaos and fun to the game.
Right.
It's about teamwork, communication, and maybe a little friendly competition.
Oh, yeah, competition. Like who can build the coolest base or
Yeah.
who can take down the most zombies.
Exactly.
I can see how that would add a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
But what about those moments when things go wrong? Like when
Ah.
your friend accidentally triggers a trap you spent hours setting up?
Those moments are inevitable,
Right.
and they're usually the ones you end up laughing about the most.
Yeah.
It's all part of the shared experience.
I bet there are some epic stories that come out of those co-op sessions.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, now I'm kind of wishing I had a group to play with. But back to those treasure maps for a second.
Yeah.
The reviewer mentioned them a few times, and I'm really intrigued by the idea. It's
Oh,
like you're following the footsteps of another player, right?
exactly. Those maps aren't just about loot.
Right.
They're about connecting with the history of the game world.
Okay.
It's like finding a message in a bottle, a glimpse into the journey of another survivor.
That's so cool. It adds a whole layer of storytelling and mystery to the game. You're
Yeah.
not just surviving, you're uncovering the stories of those who came before you.
Right.
And honestly, I think that's what sets 7 Days to Die apart from other survival games.
Mm.
It's not just about the mechanics. It's about the experience, the world, the community.
You hit the nail on the head. It's a game that really draws you in
Yeah.
and makes you feel like you're part of something bigger.
It's like you're building a legacy, not just a base.
Exactly.
And that's what I love about a good deep dive.
Yeah.
It's about discovering those hidden gems,
Right.
those elements that elevate a game beyond just its features.
Speaking of hidden gems,
Okay.
we haven't even touched on the variety of zombies in 7 Days to Die.
Oh, really?
The reviewer briefly mentioned different types,
Okay.
each with their own strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, now that's something I want to hear more about.
Yeah.
We've talked about hordes and those epic 7 day cycles,
Uh-huh.
but what kind of challenges do these different zombie types present?
Well, some are faster, some are tougher, some can even spit acid or explode.
Whoa, exploding zombies. Okay, that's officially terrifying,
Yeah.
but also kind of awesome.
It's pretty wild.
So you can't just rely on one strategy, right? You have
Yeah.
to adapt to the different threats.
Exactly. Knowing your enemy is key to survival in 7 Days to Die.
Right.
And that goes beyond just the zombies.
Okay.
The world itself can be a challenge.
Oh
We
my-
talked about the diverse biomes,
Right.
but each one comes with its own set of environmental hazards.
Oh, right. Like extreme temperatures, radiation, maybe even poisonous plants.
Exactly.
So it's not just about fighting off zombies. It's about navigating a world that's actively trying to kill you.
That's the thrill of survival, isn't it?
I guess so.
It's about overcoming obstacles, adapting to challenges, and proving that you can thrive
Right.
even in the most hostile environments.
And having the right skills certainly helps.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We talked about the perk system earlier,
Uh,
but maybe we can dig a little deeper into that.
yeah.
What are some of the more unique or interesting skills that players can develop?
There are so many to choose from.
Okay.
You can become a master engineer, a skilled medic, a stealthy infiltrator, a demolition expert. The list goes on.
Okay, now I'm picturing myself as this post-apocalyptic MacGyver,
Uh-huh.
crafting gadgets out of spare parts and disarming traps with a paperclip.
Yeah.
It's like the ultimate test of creativity and resourcefulness.
And that's what I love about 7 Days to Die.
Yeah,
It's a game that encourages you to think outside the box, to experiment,
right.
and to find your own unique path to survival.
It's not just about following a set path. It's about forging your own destiny
Exactly.
in a world where anything is possible.
That's right.
And that brings us back to the crafting system.
Okay.
We touched on vehicles earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm curious about some of the other things players can create.
Yep.
What about weapons and armor?
The crafting system in 7 Days to Die is incredibly deep.
Okay.
You can create everything from simple bows and arrows to high-tech firearms and explosives,
Wow.
and the armor options are just as diverse,
Oh, wow.
ranging from basic leather padding to full-body metal suits.
Wow. So you can really go all out with customization.
Yeah.
I bet there are some pretty wild combinations out there.
Oh, absolutely. Players are constantly coming up with new and creative ways
Yeah.
to combine items and create unique builds. It's one of the things that keeps the game fresh and exciting.
It's like the apocalypse is a giant sandbox for your imagination to run wild in.
Exactly.
But let's not forget about the practical side of things.
Yay.
What about food and water?
Right.
Those are pretty essential for survival, right?
You can't forget about the basics.
Right.
7 Days to Die has a robust farming and cooking system. You can plant crops, raise livestock,
Wow.
and cook up a variety of dishes to keep your character fed and hydrated.
So it's not just about scavenging for scraps. You
Right.
can actually become self-sufficient, create your own little oasis in the midst of the chaos.
Exactly. It adds a whole new layer of depth to the gameplay.
Wow.
And it's incredibly satisfying to go from scrounging for berries to feasting on a gourmet meal you prepared yourself.
I bet there's something primal and fulfilling about providing for yourself, even in a virtual world.
Absolutely.
It's like tapping into our innate survival instincts.
And speaking of instincts, let's talk about combat.
Okay.
We've talked about the hordes and the different types of zombies,
Right.
but what's it actually like to face those creatures head on?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. Is it all about brute force? Or is there an element of strategy involved?
Combat in 7 Days to Die is a delicate balance of both. You need to know when to charge in guns blazing
Right.
and when to hang back and use stealth or ranged attacks.
Okay.
And you always have to be aware of your surroundings,
Yeah.
using the environment to your advantage.
So it's not just about button mashing.
Right.
You have to think tactically, use your resources wisely, and maybe even outsmart those zombies.
Exactly. And that's what makes the combat so engaging.
Right.
You're constantly learning, adapting,
Yeah.
and finding new ways to survive.
Totally.
And when you finally take down that tough zombie or successfully defend your base against a horde, the feeling of accomplishment is incredible.
It's like a real test of skill and strategy.
Yeah.
And I bet there's nothing quite like the adrenaline rush of facing off against a horde of zombies with your friends by your side.
There's nothing quite like it. It's a bonding experience unlike any other.
I bet.
And the stories you'll share afterward will be legendary.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we have.
We've talked about the diverse world, the intricate crafting system, the challenging combat, the importance of community, and the sense of accomplishment that comes from surviving in 7 Days to Die.
But there's one more aspect of the game that we haven't touched upon yet.
Okay.
And it's something that the reviewer highlighted as being crucial to the overall experience.
Okay. I'm intrigued. What is it?
It's the sense of progression, that feeling of starting with nothing
Okay.
and gradually building yourself up, both literally and figuratively.
Right. That classic rags to riches, zero to hero arc that we see in so many games. But how does that play out specifically in 7 Days to Die?
It's about the journey, the evolution of your character from a vulnerable survivor scrounging for scraps
Right.
to a hardened veteran who can face down hordes of zombies without breaking a sweat.
So it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving.
Exactly.
It's about building a better future for yourself, even in the midst of a zombie apocalypse.
Exactly, and that's what makes 7 Days to Die so compelling. It's a game that gives you the tools to not just exist, but to flourish,
Right.
to create something meaningful out of the chaos.
And to do it all with a sense of humor and a dash of creativity.
For sure.
Because, let's be honest, building elaborate traps for zombies and crafting ridiculous vehicles out of scrap metal is inherently fun.
Absolutely. It's about embracing the absurdity of the situation,
Yeah.
finding joy in the midst of the struggle, and never taking yourself too seriously.
And that's a lesson we can all apply to our lives, even if we're not facing down hordes of zombies.
Well said. But before we get too philosophical, let's bring things back to the game.
Okay.
We've talked about a lot of the core elements,
Right.
but there are still some aspects we haven't explored.
Right, like those skill trees.
Exactly.
Touched on them briefly.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about how they really impact your gameplay.
The skill trees in 7 Days to Die are incredibly in-depth.
Okay.
They allow you to specialize in everything from combat and crafting to engineering and medicine.
Oh.
You can tailor your character to your preferred playstyle
Right.
and create a truly unique survivor.
So it's not just about picking a class at the beginning.
Right.
Or constantly learning and evolving your character throughout the game.
Exactly. And that sense of progression is incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
As you unlock new skills and abilities, you feel like you're truly mastering the game
Right.
and becoming a force to be reckoned with.
Okay, now I'm imagining myself as this ultimate zombie-slaying badass
Uh-huh.
with a skill set so diverse I could probably survive in any apocalypse.
There you go.
But I'm guessing there's a bit of a learning curve to get there.
There is. 7 days to die, doesn't hold your hand, it throws you into
Ah.
the deep end, and expects you to sink or swim.
Which is part of the fun, right?
Exactly.
It's about discovering things for yourself, experimenting, and figuring out what works best.
Uh-huh.
It's about embracing the challenge and the unknown.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so rewarding. When you finally conquer that difficult challenge or craft that complex item, the feeling of accomplishment is incredible.
It's like you've earned your place in this post-apocalyptic world.
Yep.
You're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're building a life for yourself, creating something meaningful out of the chaos.
And you're doing it all with a sense of humor and a dash of creativity.
Right.
Because even in the face of a zombie apocalypse, there's always room for a little bit of fun.
It's funny, we've been talking about all these serious survival elements,
Yeah.
but there's something so playful about 7 Days to Die, too.
Yeah.
It's like the game knows it's a zombie apocalypse,
Right.
but it doesn't take itself too seriously.
You're right. That's what makes it so refreshing. It's got that balance
Yeah.
of intensity and lightheartedness.
Yeah.
You're crafting elaborate zombie traps 1 minute
Uh-huh.
and then building a ridiculously tricked out motorbike the next.
See, that's what gets me excited. It's not just surviving.
Right.
It's about making the most of a wild situation.
Yeah.
And speaking of making the most, the reviewer mentioned traders and quests.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a whole, social system layered into this zombie world?
There is. You're not just a lone wolf out there.
Okay.
You can bump into other survivors, trade with them,
Okay.
take on quests, even form alliances.
Wow.
It adds a whole new strategic layer to the game.
Wait, so you're telling me I can, barter for supplies?
Uh-huh.
Maybe team up with other players to take down a massive horde? Or could I even, go full double cross and steal their stuff? That sounds kind of tempting.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves
Okay.
and encourage any apocalyptic thievery.
Right, right.
But yeah, the social dynamics can be pretty unpredictable.
Yeah.
It's all part of the fun.
Okay, so it's not just surviving the zombies.
Right.
You gotta survive the other players, too.
Yeah,
That definitely adds a whole new level of tension.
for sure.
But speaking of tension, let's circle back to those horde nights.
Oh, yeah.
The reviewer made them sound downright terrifying.
They can be intense picture. The ground is shaking.
Okay.
As this massive horde lumbers towards your base,
Uh-huh.
the air is thick with those zombie moans, and you can practically smell.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you're totally painting a vivid and slightly scary picture here.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, there's a part of me that wants to experience that
Right.
to test my skills against that ultimate challenge.
That's the allure of 7 Days to Die, right?
Yeah.
Pushes you to your limits, forces you to adapt,
Right.
but ultimately it rewards you for sticking it out.
And it's not just about surviving, it's about having fun along the way.
Exactly.
Like we were saying earlier, there's something inherently amusing about building ridiculous zombie traps and crafting wacky vehicles.
Absolutely. The game has a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
It lets you embrace the absurdity of the situation, laugh in the face of danger.
It's like, hey, the world's ending, might as well go out with a bang and maybe a tricked out zombie smashing car. Now you're getting it. Right.
So for all you listeners out there who are looking for a game that's challenging,
Yeah.
but also playful, constantly evolving, and just plain fun,
Right.
7 Days to Die might be right up your alley.
Okay, it's a game that lets you be the ultimate survivor, the master builder, the creative crafter, and the zombie slaying hero all in one.
And if you haven't already, definitely check out that YouTube review
Oh, yeah.
from Reachpool that got us talking about this.
Yeah.
He's got some great insights and tips that'll help you survive and thrive in this world.
And hey, if you've already taken the plunge into 7 Days to Die, we want to hear from you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What are your go-to strategies? What crazy things have you built? Have you managed to craft that legendary helicopter yet?
Right.
Let us know in the comments.
Because in the world of 7 Days to Die, the only thing better than surviving
Yeah.
is swapping those stories with fellow players.
That's so true. Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of 7 Days to Die.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride.
And remember, whether you're facing a horde of zombies or just everyday life,
Uh-huh.
a little resourcefulness, resilience, and a good sense of humor go a long way.
Until next time, explorers, keep your wits sharp, your tools ready, and your bases fortified.
Stay safe out there.
Most importantly, never stop learning, adapting, and having fun.
And watch out for those exploding zombies.
Right. Can't forget about those catch you on the next adventure.